In this video, I'm going to explain why I think the meme coin S&P 6900 goes to $50, which would be about a $50 billion market cap. It's currently sitting at 500 million, so I think it'll go a lot higher from here. And a target like $50 may seem crazy, but I'll explain exactly why I think this is actually possible in this video. So first of all, let's start with what is the meme. So to put it simply, S&P 6900 is making fun of TradFi's S&P 500, right? So this meme is basically something that mocks the traditional finance world and the coin that a lot of newer people like Gen Z will come into because of the low returns in the traditional stock market, right? And the goal ultimately is to flip the stock market. So this is one of the coins that actually has a mission, and I think that's why it makes it so powerful, right? Flipping the stock market. If people genuinely believe that this could happen, there's a lot of narrative and a lot of momentum that could go into this coin. So I'll explain exactly why I think a $50 billion market cap is possible for this coin. So what does this coin really have that makes it so special? In my opinion, it has the most delusional holders. So many of these holders really believe that this coin can flip the stock market, right? I mean, it's on the Twitter page, and if you speak to a lot of these people in the community, they really look at this tweet right here, right? Everyone believes that this could actually flip the stock market. And why is this important? Because if people believe this thing can flip the stock market, it means they won't sell until we go much higher. So there's very little sell pressure. The more delusional holders you have, the less sell pressure you have, and the higher the coin can actually go. If everyone believes that this coin will only go to, like just a meme coin in general, will only go to, right, $2, then everyone will sell at $2. But if people genuinely believe that this coin has potential to go much higher, then there won't be people selling. And that ultimately is what creates these gigantic parabolas and high prices. So that's the number one thing this coin has. Because it's a mission and because the goal is to flip the stock market, it means that people won't sell until it reaches much higher prices. The next important concept is this idea of the self-fulfilling prophecy. So as the S&P 6900 goes up, it gets more attention, attracting new buyers who further push the price up. So obviously flipping the stock market, where the stock market is at $49 trillion, is something extremely ambitious. But let's say S&P 6900 reaches a 5 billion market cap. Then people will be saying, oh, it's 0.1% of the S&P 500, and that will start making headlines. And once that gains attention, more people will come in, and it'll increase the price potentially even higher. And then once people start talking about this higher price, they'll start saying it's getting even closer to flipping the stock market. And that narrative and that attention push creates this cycle of bringing more people, of generating attention, creating more buying pressure for this coin, which then creates more attention. So this is really a flywheel of growth and attention, and it creates this psychological fear of missing out. So the retail investors don't want to miss out on a meme that could potentially flip the stock market. Even though this may seem crazy, if enough people start believing in this idea of this coin really, potentially flipping the stock market, if going to $50 becomes reasonable, and this adds into the point before of having so many delusional holders, where people aren't going to sell until we reach higher prices because the ceiling for this coin is so much higher than other coins, right? There's a clear ceiling. The ceiling is to flip the stock market. And that ceiling is so high that it creates very little sell pressure at these current levels of not even $1 billion, right? So let's move on to the next point. A big reason why I believe that meme coins, but more specifically S&P 6900 will do well, is that everyone gets it, right? Unlike some complex DeFi projects, right? You go into the cryptos by market cap, right? Like a lot of people, a lot of retail come in here and they just see these random coins like Chainlink, Sui, Avalanche, Mantra, these DeFi, these layer ones. They don't really understand what's going on, right? Anyone can get a meme coin. It doesn't require any understanding of staking, liquidity pools, or governance. You just buy and hold, right? So Bitcoin was a very easy idea to understand. It was digital gold, right? That was the narrative that made Bitcoin so popular and do so well. And now there's a very simple narrative for S&P 6900. It's basically making a joke on finance. So later on, I'll talk about why making a joke on finance is actually not a new narrative. We've seen it with GameStop and many other parts of the market where the markets become irrational. So that's a huge narrative, which I'll discuss more on later. But basically, the main concept is that accessibility matters a lot. It's easier for someone to explain to their friends what it's about, and it's easier to attract new buyers, right? If you try to pitch, let's just pick a Uniswap, right? You say Uniswap, it's the top decentralized exchange on Ethereum, and you try to pitch it to, you know, like someone who doesn't understand crypto. They'll be like, "What are you talking about? I don't understand what this is. Why would I have my money in here?" But you show them something like S&P 6900, and you say, right, there's this coin where the mission is to flip the stock market, and there's a huge community behind it, and everyone's working to make this happen. It's super easy to understand because everyone knows the S&P 500, and they get the meme, they get the joke, right? It's and this idea of accessibility matters a ton. All right, now I want to talk about comparing S&P 6900 to the GameStop effect because this idea of mocking TradFi is so prevalent in this meme coin. So we all know what happened with GameStop and how it became a movement that people wanted to join, and it really contains an S&P 6900 like spirit. We saw how the stock went absolutely crazy in 2020 from this giant short squeeze and how it was really a mimetic increase. Like, obviously, this was not an increase led by high earnings and high earnings report and fundamentals, right? This was a mimetic driven increase, which is exactly what a meme coin is. It's driven off mimetics, right? So people are tired of traditional finance, banks getting bailouts, stock manipulation, insider trading, and S&P 1600 is where a lot of this money that is dissatisfied with the current system it's making its way into. So it lets people profit while mocking the system. It says we don't need your S&P 500 to make money, right? We don't need the S&P 500 to make money, and we can use the S&P 1600, which gets us higher returns than the average 15% from the S&P, right? So just like GameStop, right? Memes are a weapon. They create financial chaos for hedge funds, and this makes really retail get involved, right? Meme coins are a game where retail can actually win, where there isn't stock manipulation and insider trading. If people rally around this idea of, making fun or breaking the system, they'll pour a lot of money into it. And it's not because of the utility of the asset, but it's really the message and doing what you're not supposed to do, right? This idea of doing something that isn't supposed to be done really gets a lot of people interested. And the higher this thing goes, it really creates this flywheel of more attention, leading to more buyers, to higher prices, to more tensions, right? So finally, I want to talk about the cool-like identity that S&P 6900 has and how it mirrors Bitcoin's early days. So we can just see how large this community is. If we look up these two symbols on X, you can just see the thousands of people who are part of this community, right? There's just so many people who believe in this mission. And just like how Bitcoin started off as a movement against centralized banking, S&P 6900 is a rebellion against traditional finance. And it makes it very much relatable to how Bitcoin was at its early stages, right? They the early adopters of Bitcoin believed in decentralization, and the early adopters to S&P 6900 believe in the value of community and this new asset class, which isn't really understood, right? A lot of people, when they think of meme coins, they think of it as like the dog, like something like Dogecoin, right? Something that's just a joke. But these people in here really believe in the power of community, and there's a common phrase that they all use in this community. It's this idea of stop trading and believing in something, right? They have their own philosophies and their own belief systems in this community. And they believe in this new asset class, which they think will go to trillions of dollars. And it's the new emerging asset class, similar to how no one really understood the value of Bitcoin back in the day. People don't really get it now, but not many people understand, but they will is what these people really believe. So this is really feels like a Bitcoin like community, and they really believe this thing is the next big asset class. So what should you do now? You have this information about why S&P 6900 really has such a good narrative and is could be an asset that appreciates immensely. What should you do now? So when we look at the chart, we can see that it's down quite a bit from the highs, almost 70%. So, in my opinion, if you understand and believe the points I mentioned earlier, it makes sense to enter now. It seems like a good entry here. It's near some support zones from November. But ultimately, it doesn't matter at what price here you buy. If you genuinely believe this thing can go to $50, right? Or even higher. Because if something like Dogecoin can go to $100 billion last cycle, right? Dogecoin went to almost $100 billion last cycle. So everyone knows it's possible for a meme coin to do super well, right? So why is it not possible for this one to do just as well or potentially even better? So yeah, these are the main reasons why I believe that a $50 billion market cap is very possible for this meme coin.